The San Diego County Prescription Drug Abuse Task Force says nearly 1 in 4 people in the county funded drug treatment programs call heroin their drug of choice. Who's using, who's selling, and why prescription drugs are a gateway to opiate abuse may surprise you. Here with firsthand experience of the problem and its devastating results is Sherry Rubin, founding member of the county's Prescription Drug Abuse Task Force, whose son Aaron overdosed on prescription pain pills a few years ago. And Sherry, thank you for talking with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now remind us of what heroin is, where it comes from, and how it's used.
Well, heroin is an opiate form of drug, as well as it has methadone. And for San Diego, I believe a lot of our heroin comes from the border, from Mexico. Prior to that, there's other areas in Mexico. I think a lot of miseducation about where heroin comes from. A lot of people think it comes from Afghanistan and other areas.
Heard that, yeah.
Yeah. Mostly Mexico.
Yeah, it's grown in the poppy, and it's
Yes.
like the morphine, but I do understand, and there's lots of data to back you up on that,
Yes.
that certainly the southwest border is a gateway for getting it in. Prescription painkillers, though, like Oxycodone and Vicodin, are often referred to as a gateway drug for heroin use. Why do you think that is?
The reason is, Peggy, that prescription drugs like hydrocodone products, opioids, are just like heroin. They're pharmaceutical grade heroin. The components are exactly the same. And so when you start down the path of taking prescription drugs and you become dependent, at first it's a choice, but at some point it's no longer a choice. You become dependent on those drugs, and those drugs are very expensive. And
I believe that for a habit of that, if you were addicted to it, it would be between $150 and $300 a day, is what I've heard.
It's roughly that. And for those who have a higher tolerance that use more pills, it's $1 a gram for a pill, and Oxycontin 40 grams, so it's $40 a pill. Some people use up to 10 pills a day. That's $400 a day. Heroin is their only alternative, economically cheaper product to maintain their drug habit and withstand the withdrawals that they would go through if they didn't have it.
Much cheaper, I understand, about a fifth of the price. Back in 2005, I understand your son Aaron overdosed on oxycodone, and he now requires 24-hour care. Tell us about his addiction.
Yes, Aaron started in high school with Vicodin, somas, which are muscle relaxers as well, and then Percocets, and then Oxycontin. And then he went to injecting Oxycontin. So he overdosed. He was in a coma for 3.5 weeks. The people he was with did not call 911. We were planning his funeral, and he opened his eyes, but he did not come out unscathed. He is a quadriplegic needing 24-hour care, and his voice was taken from him. He understands everything, but he answers 1 for yes and 2 for no to communicate.
It's very sad, and I
Yes.
think a lot of people don't see that sometimes it doesn't overdose you to the point of death. There's a lot of in-between on that. I also understand when it comes to heroin that it's not just an urban street drug, as you might think of other drugs. How is it marketed and delivered to middle-class users?
Very easily, and a great system where young adults don't want to go to dangerous places or drug houses, so they call a number, they have a runner come out, bring their product at a safer location, Burger King, the mall, something like that, and they deliver the product. It's
like pizza.
Yeah, like pizza.
And I understand that some of the drug cartels even have some very good customer service. They'll say, "Oh, you didn't like that one, bring it back to us, and we'll refund it." Have you heard that?
Absolutely, absolutely. The buyer needs to be satisfied. If they're not, they'll give them new product or exchange the product.
So parents have a lot of competition as far as it's convenient now. It seems you don't have to go to the seedy part of town. You even get a refund if you know, or
Right.
I wouldn't say a refund, but probably a replacement. What should parents do to keep their teens or younger kids from getting hooked either on pain pills or heroin?
The first thing that parents need to understand is that it can happen to them, and it can happen to their child. The second thing they need to do is remove their prescription drugs from their medicine cabinet and put them in a secure, locked location that only they know about. Thirdly, they need to participate in take-back days and get unused and expired meds out of their cabinet. And most importantly, educate themselves about what's going on in society and the culture of their young adult and in our community, so that they can see the warning signs attributed to using these type of pills. And that is the most crucial, I believe, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and that's why we go out and talk about it. We didn't have that information. And my son made a choice. He made an uneducated choice. He thought they came from a doctor, they come from a pharmacist, they're safe. They'll never hurt me.
What are some of the signs that a parent, you mentioned signs, what are some of the signs and symptoms that maybe perhaps your child may have already started prescription use or is going down that path?
Obviously, their disconnect from the family, but sweating, pinpoint pupils, argumentative. It's very difficult because I attributed all those to growing up a teenage boy in the house, hormone changes, things of that nature. But sleeping at odd hours of the day, things that a young adult really shouldn't be doing.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of information on that, some details on the website. Sherry Rubin, thank you so much for telling your story and coming here.
Well, thank you, Peggy.